I am ready now.
Coming to you from the Radio for One studios in Franklin, Michigan. Welcome to the Detroit Cast.
Big fan. Big fan.
A show not just free of charge, but free of FCC regulations.
And what can we expect?
Surprises!
Engineered by Jay Timko and produced by Eric Beatty. And without further delay, it's showtime. Please welcome the Detroit Cast. Here are your hosts, Mike and Jay.
Alrighty, hello. Welcome to the Detroit Cast, Thursday edition of the show. I'm Mike, Jay is here, Timko's here, Eric's here, the whole gang. Good afternoon, good morning, whenever you're listening to this. How you doing, Jay?
Very well, how are you?
Oh, good. Tired, exhausted as always. You know,
wake up, man, wake up.
Stressed and miserable and, daily life. Now it is. Same for everybody, right?
Yes.
Oh, fuck.
Right.
Another day, another whatever. But, a lot to get to today, including Kid Rock, interesting stuff there. Not a new tour announced or anything like that, but involved, well, I guess ICP is involved with the story and all kinds of stuff. We'll get to that in a minute. Also, the Brooklyn Bridge. I saw that. I meant to mention it yesterday and just forgot, but I don't know if you've seen what's gone on.
It's being fucked with.
It is. I don't know. Marks in the country, the bridge separating Brooklyn and Manhattan, and it's got the two American flags on the top. Well, it does again, but there was a little hiccup earlier in the week or over the weekend maybe. Also, an older story, but one worth mentioning anyway. Some prison guards up to some maybe they shouldn't be guards, but just should be there permanently, perhaps. But we should start with our own our own backyard here, where the jury is hearing the opening statements now in the shooter, I guess they're calling it, talking about Ted or Theodore Wafer and Renisha McBride. She was the girl that got into the car accident, and at 1 in the morning, and then between 1 and 3:30 or so, nobody knows where she went. And then she shows up on this guy's porch, and he just unloads a shotgun into her face, obviously killing her, right? So jury selection is done. That took a couple days, and we're getting the first testimony going. And this story, for the first time, I'm seeing it popping up as a lead on many of the national websites. The big ones, the ABCs, NBCs, all of the big ones are covering this story now, which is weird when you see this little story in our backyard that's hitting the national press, and this is definitely doing that. But it seemed like a lot of this was going to fall on jury selection. As dumb as that sounds, shouldn't that not matter in a court?
I think it's one of the biggest factors in every
case. It is, right?
Unfortunately, yeah.
It's why the OJ case, they want to move the trial out of Santa Monica and get it somewhere where you're likely going to have more minorities that can sit on a jury. And this one's in Wayne County, and opening arguments, as I mentioned, have started. But apparently this girl, Renisha McBride, was playing drinking games with friends and left and got into a car accident. And his attorneys, the defense attorneys, part of their opening argument said that his client had never been this scared in his life, ever. He heard a series of booms, saw a shadowy figure outside his home, and that was enough. He hears metal breaking on his front door. He's thinking, they're coming in. They're breaking into my house. The prosecutor, Danielle Clark, however, argued that McBride had played a drinking game with a friend earlier that night, crashed her car, and was seeking medical advice and help, or not advice, but medical help for a cut on her head. They said there was damage to his screen door, but it wasn't damage done by her trying to get in, but when he fired a gun through it, which would make sense, right?
So he opened the entry door and fired through the screen door.
That's what it sounds like. That maybe he had a typical door like we all have, and then a screen door. And maybe I just don't understand why would you open the door?
Yeah, if you're that scared.
Yeah. I mean, like, if you think there's a monster under the bed, you don't go under the bed, you hide under your covers. Everybody knows that, right? That's the only defense for a monster under the bed or in the closet, right?
Yeah.
That's what you do. If you think there's something outside the door, why would you open the door and confront it? Like, that just seems like an automatic. But Anyway, an autopsy released, and this is really breaking news here. An autopsy released by the medical examiner in Wayne County ruled that McBride died of a large gunshot wound to the face.
Ooh,
so
breaking news.
I was really wondering what it was, if she had a heart attack or
some sort of head injury, like our guy yesterday,
right, who was
the
missing
victim.
his head.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they can't say for certain, but they're pretty sure that it was some sort of trauma to the head that ended his life.
Upper body injury.
Now, if they could locate the head, they'd be
know
able
for
to tell
sure.
us for sure what happened. But in light of that, they're going with what they can, and the fact that the head is missing, they think that maybe that had something to do with his
Doing
death.
the best they can.
Right.
Dude, you roped me in with that autopsy. I'm not kidding. Like you said there's this breaking
That's
news.
my
and
job.
shit.
Eric's like, oh, sweet. What are we gonna
Like,
learn?
holy shit,
Wow.
breaking news.
And if you were there in the courtroom, as maybe you should have been, as a legal court representative for the Detroit Cast, you could have broke that news
Yes,
today,
you're right.
instead of me having to
I'm
do it.
sorry. I wasn't doing my job. My bad.
Do we know the weapon he used? It was a shotgun.
It sounds like just
12 gauge?
a shotgun, evidence of close range discharge. The 911 call released by police, you could hear Wafer saying, yes, I just shot somebody on my front porch with a shotgun, banging on my door. When the police asked him what city he was in, he said, thank you, and hung up. Alrighty.
Little Don Sterling in him.
Yeah, right. It does. Yeah.
Okay.
I imagine that would be one of those moments in your
Oh,
life where
shit.
you'd be a little rattled, and
Hell yeah.
I could see
Middle of the
not
night.
hearing someone. But whatever, it does sound weird seeing it in print like that.
Yeah.
What city are you in? Thank you. Bye. Okay. Bye. The jury makeup: 7 men, 7 women, 4 jurors are black. Now, it took, like I said earlier, a couple days to do this. They dismissed more than 30 people for cause, some of whom had said they already formed an opinion of the case. I mean, that would be my move.
Have
to
you
get
ever
out of
been
it.
called for jury duty?
I have, but I don't. I got into the initial round, like they saw something in me and dismissed
They
me
took
without
one
saying
look.
a word. Yeah, like we were in the courtroom, which is an awkward feeling no matter when you're there. And there were probably, I don't know, 50 people, 30 people, and they took like half the group into one spot, and the rest of us just sat there on like church pews almost, and they started going through one by one of those initial ones, and then 2 hours later, as we're just sitting here kind of watching them do this thing, they called the rest of us out and just dismissed us.
Okay, they had their jury then.
Is that what that
Yeah.
meant? It was
That's
weird.
That's nice. I've sat there all day long in your situation. And
Yeah.
then at the very last moment, they go, okay,
We're good.
The other 3 of you who are still left in the back can go. You're like, mother effer, man.
Is that
I'd
go-
love to be on a jury.
Really?
Yeah.
They would never let you. They take
Probably
one
not.
look at you as a lawyer and go, get the fuck out of here.
A lot of
No
times
way.
they do eliminate lawyers because they think they're going to just take control of it.
Which
and
they
they're gonna
would.
start-
How could they not? I mean, seriously, it's what your background is. I mean,
Yeah, you'd be going,
seriously.
Joan,
Yeah.
you're wrong.
Yeah, and here's why. And
Yeah.
you'd be able to. I mean, it's like if you had a radio course or something with a
Mhm.
bunch of like. How could I not go in there and
Right.
and use what you know? You would think that any profession. I would think that a lawyer would disqualify you immediately. But yeah, I could see where they wouldn't want that.
Why
But-
do you want to be on a jury?
Oh,
So bad?
Depends what it's for.
No, I got called for. I think it was a kid. It was a kid in Oakland County, maybe 6 months ago. I got called to sit in the courtroom like you did, and you hear a little bit of a little snippet of what the prosecutor's case is, what the defense position is, and it was a kid who was accused of surreptitiously taking pictures of another male in a locker room at a health club, and so it was,
Fun one to be on.
It would have been, yeah. So it was a lot of questioning that went toward homosexuality and your views on that and all that shit.
Yeah.
But they ended up seating a jury and paneling a jury before my number came up to
Do you
even
have-
get in the jury box.
Is that totally random, do you know? Or is that like, I figured maybe
No,
it was
they-
alphabetical order, and the fact that my last name is Walters meant I was in the back of the room. And
Yeah, it sort of is. You fill out a juror questionnaire first. So
Yep.
the lawyers have, everybody who's been called in, they've got them all by number and all that, but that you get seated into the box randomly, and then as you eliminate, then another one, the next person on the list goes in. But you generally, as the lawyer, have a little snippet of who the person is, and you're frantically writing as they talk and they answer questions. You can even Google them. You can Google, what they're all about. If they start saying, "Oh, I'm part of this organization," you start, you got your Eric there, hopefully, who's quick on the Google machine. But yeah, it's super intense in terms of picking juries. So huge consultant fees are paid for big cases. But this one, you say 7 and 7 men and women. 4 are African American.
And depending on which side you're on, whether it's defense or prosecution, you either want as many African Americans or minorities, I guess, but African Americans specifically as you can get, or as few as you can get. And that's already coming into play on day one. We've got just before the lunch break yesterday, the prosecutor told the court, well, actually, both the prosecution and defense neared their limit of 12 preemptory challenges, which will allow them to just dismiss someone without giving reason. So you could just be, oh yeah, you're Jay, da-da-da-da-da. No, dismissed. And they toss you out, and they don't have to say why. But they just do. But just before the lunch break, the prosecutor told the court that thus far, all 5 of the defense's preemptory challenges had been used for African Americans, and she said the law does not allow people to be excluded from a jury because of race.
Yeah, there's a lot of case law on that. And really, strangely enough, it goes to the juror's right to sit on a jury. So it's you look at the perspective of, hey, I'm an African American juror. I have a right to take part in this.
Right.
So yeah, there's a whole lot of case law that goes into that. You can't, if the judge picks up that's what you're doing. Yeah. She's going to shut you down.
Which I automatically, when I read this, it was like, well, of course, you've got a white guy, a black girl. You would just, it's just, I think, natural that you would have. To think that there might be some sympathies if you had a black jury going, oh yeah, the white guy saw a black girl come up to the porch and shot her, and you're not. It's going to be harder to prove your case. Maybe I could see that line of thinking
for sure, but there's also the line of thinking like, are we going to insult the remaining the remaining jurors?
Yeah.
If that's what we do, and they go, oh gee, look at these guys. They're just trying to racially put this together.
Yeah.
Their case must be shit,
Well,
so that's why it was so awesome that the Kwame jury was so mixed and diverse.
Yeah. So they couldn't point to that.
They absolutely did not exclude people based on race or pick people based on race. And it stands as a bona fide verdict that everybody agreed was fair and cool, and there was none of that, oh god, well of course, it's all these white people. Can't say that.
And the prosecution in that case, I thought they were pretty open about the fact that they really wanted a very diverse group because they worried about that. In the aftermath, they didn't want people to be able to come forward and go, oh yeah, you had one black guy on the jury and all the other were white, of course they convicted him. So they wanted black people as much as anybody, just to be able to say, hey, he got his day in court.
And this guy just wants his freedom, so he's trying to play the best cards he can. And I understand why you would want less African Americans, why that would jump out at you as advantageous. But you got to be careful when you're doing that, not to offend the remaining jurors.
Yeah, well, it's the times we're living in right now. You couldn't even blame someone for that. It's just a fact. You see black guy, white guy, altercation, it's just going to be divided among the races. That's just the way it is. We see it in every story that comes out. They point that out. It shouldn't even be mentioned. It should be a guy and a girl got into this. It shouldn't even matter, but it does. And it's usually one of the first things mentioned. Oh, by the way, it was a white guy that shot a black girl. So,
for example, would this be a national story if it was a white girl who got shot by a black guy?
Right.
Probably not.
Probably not. Well, the defense attorney responded that she had race-neutral reasons for dismissing all 5. She said the reasons included that one had multiple relatives killed by gunfire and said she was fearful of firearms. I can see why you would want that guy off the jury. Also, another wrote on her jury questionnaire that she had publicly commented on the case, saying it could have been prevented. I could see why you would want that juror removed.
Mm-hmm.
And the last one, another was sleeping during jury selection. And the judge said she didn't see the juror sleeping, and the prosecution argued he was just resting his eyes. So,
Sleeping during the...
yeah, immediately, which was wasn't that what we heard with the OJ one?
Oh yeah.
The jurors were sleeping their asses off. It was so insulting because they got bored to tears in the early days of DNA.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway,
yeah, Barry Sheck up there just rambling about DNA
for hour after hour. Yeah, crazy. Well, this story is going to be really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? A week for a trial like that, probably?
Yep.
Yeah. Another one, interesting story here. Not quite as local, but this one weird as well. Jury picked for this one. Man has been convicted by a jury of fatally stabbing his ex-wife 84 times and then covering her face with a pig mask.
Jeez.
What?
80. God.
Yeah. Crazy.
That's a pissed off dude.
Yeah, that's someone. What do they say? There are like all kinds of things. Like if you're stabbing someone in the face or in the eyes, there's like very specific, like conscious thing.
Did he do the face and put the pig over it, or it just says he threw the pig mask on?
Yeah. Jurors announced Wednesday that 66-year-old Anthony Novellino was guilty of murder. They deliberated about 3 hours over 2 days. Prosecutors say he attacked his ex-wife Judith at their home back in 2010. They had recently finalized their divorce, and Judith was packing items to take to her apartment when she was stabbed. So I'm immediately thinking she's got a new love interest. He doesn't want this divorce to go through. She's packing her things, and he snaps, right? But it says that Judith was a high school English teacher, and this is great too. Don't tell me she's a toy. No. That would have been an interesting twist. No. The body is left there, of course, for their adult daughter to find. Imagine that.
With a pig mask on.
Exactly.
Disgusting. Man.
Totally. He was captured several days after the killing in Washington State, where he fled to meet a woman he'd been communicating with online. So it's like, dude, you've got another thing going over here. Why? Like, what was that all about? Like, I was thinking, like, okay, it's just a guy going enraged. He's losing his girl. She's moving out. It's finalized. And it's really final. It hits him when she's grabbing her things, and he snaps. And that's what it is. But then it's like he fled to go meet some chick he's been talking to online.
It's the reverse. What a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
And he faces at least 30 years in prison, sentencing scheduled for September 12th.
Dude, this is another, like that other guy that pushed.
Dude,
well,
you're in this far.
And he already has another girl.
I know.
Ridiculous.
66 and he's got side ass, dude. How does that make you feel, Eric?
I am getting more, like, you would think the stories that are getting me more depressed and more depressed are just these stories of prison people in prison getting pussy, fucking 7-year-old man getting pussy, fucking all these old fucking pig man's got 6 girls on the side.
I know
I'm fucking not like a rock star or rich, but
no,
come on.
far from.
But
you're not a pig man either.
I'm looking at pig man, and I'm not in jail.
It's debatable, but I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Yeah.
I'm better looking at pig man.
Yeah.
If you were clean, that's possible.
That's true. Pig clean. I'll give him that.
Well,
It's funny that he would mention this issue, though, given our next story.
Mm-hmm. And it's an old story, but it's one that I don't think any of us had been aware of. I don't know how some stories become viral stories that go everywhere, and some are just whatever. They're in their local community and they don't go any further than that. I don't know what is the deciding factor, because this story
this one kind of
has
plays
everything.
And it plays into what we've been talking about with the prison problems at Jackson. First the maggots in the food, and then the
outrageous.
The kitchen.
Yeah.
And the refrigeration unit there.
I think that's something that's probably gone on in many prisons for many years.
But this is the same sort of thing. So maybe it catches fire because it's top of mind locally, and it starts to get passed around.
Well, if you look at the facts of this story that we're talking about as a lead-in here, it's got all the sexy things you look for in a story. Every one of them is in this. it's got it all. And what we're talking about is it's in Baltimore. 4 female prison guards fell pregnant to the same inmate.
Fell pregnant.
So, fell pregnant. Yeah, I don't know if they just walked by and he threw a nut at him. And, yeah, here you go. But
they slipped on it and fell pregnant.
Yeah, got the Miggs treatment from
fucking gross.
Was it
Yes,
Silence of the Lambs?
Yeah. Miggs.
But yeah, they fell pregnant to the same inmate, according to authorities who have busted a major smuggling gang inside the jail system. 2 of the women tattooed the inmate's name on their bodies, and he showered 3 of them with expensive gifts, including jewelry and cars.
God.
He's an inmate.
He's an inmate. An inmate.
He's got to be a part of like a gang, right, or something where he's got money. People.
Oh
money
yeah,
outside.
of course. Yeah, I mean you couldn't do that on your own from inside the jail. The 4 women are among 25 people who face federal charges, including 13 female prison guards. The U.S. attorney said the 25 defendants participated in running the activities of the Black Guerrilla Family, a prison and street gang from behind bars in Baltimore City. 13 corrections officers, female, 7 inmates, and 5 alleged co-conspirators laundering, possession with intent to distribute. Officials say all 13 have been suspended without pay, and the department is moving to fire them. Why don't they just move them in? Why let them go?
Open a nursery and
yeah,
nice little family there.
You need them there, you know. Let's see here. The corrections officers helped members of this notorious Black Guerrilla Family gang smuggle cell phones, marijuana, pills, cigarettes into the jail to sell to other inmates and make thousands of dollars. Corrections officers hid the contraband in their shoes. Baltimore, I guess, obviously doesn't require employees to remove footwear when going through screening. They will now. I'm certain of that. The indictment says the ringleader, inmate Tavon White, there's your boy right there. There's the player of all players, Tavon White, reportedly made $16,000 in 1 month.
That son of a...
All right, now I'm pissed at this.
I know. That was what got me as well. You think he's paying taxes on that? Let's see here. 4 officers, Jennifer Owens, Katara Stevenson, Chania Brooks, and Tiffany Linder, are also facing charges. Is that him? He doesn't even...
God,
I figured he'd be like rip fucking brick shit house dude, you know.
Come
on. Speaking of which, I don't know if we did... I don't think we did this story, but remember the hot inmate?
Oh yeah, yes.
Did you hear what happened to him?
You told me. I couldn't believe it, man.
That dude got out of jail, was out for an hour before he was murdered.
Oh!
Everybody knows who we're talking about. It's the hot mugshot guy. Remember?
Yeah.
Everybody, oh, look at his blue eyes. He's, you know, and somebody, some D-list celebrity agent, signed him,
and her other people include like
Farrah Abraham, or
Nadia Suleman, the Octomom.
Yeah.
So she's got all these totally D-list, like you say, celebs, I guess, just because
circus, really.
Yeah, they're known to everybody, but they're not celebrities in any way. But yeah, he was out an hour and got into a fight with his wife or something, and was stabbed. And
yeah, his wife killed him. Right?
Pull up the story. I can't remember the details of it, but
I remember seeing, you know, the day after the dude went viral and all the, you know, they got so many likes on their prison Facebook page or whatever.
Yeah.
She went nuts. She was pissed that the wife was pissed. And I remember thinking, like, calm down, biatch, you know?
Well, I remember his mom. Remember she started the what was it?
Like the FundMe site.
Like one of those GoFundMe or something to raise money for his defense fund. Of course, he's innocent of everything.
He's facing like 14 felony charges. Remember?
Yeah, it was, a lot of it was arms related, like illegal gun possession and stuff, and a felon in possession of guns. So anyway, yeah, it was like, oh, what a nice ending to this story.
Why hasn't that gone around? You know what I mean? I've not seen that mentioned once. You texted me that.
Yeah.
A week and a half ago.
Yeah, at least. I totally forgot about it. But yeah, you don't... Are you finding it?
Yeah.
There? Is that it?
Looks like he printed it out, actually. So.
Oh, is it a hoax? Is that why? That would be why
there
it was...
we go.
No way. I read this on 3 different stories. On 3 different sites. Yes. Hot mugshot guy Meeks reportedly killed by his wife, according to the website. The story is a hoax. Modeland's $30,000 modeling gig was posted on that he was released from jail just before midnight. The website continued to claim that right after 1 a.m., Stockton, straight out of Stockton. Police found him laying in the road in the area of in central Stockton. He was taken to a medical center where he died from his wounds shortly after arriving. Reportedly died after getting into an altercation with his wife. The fake report continued to say that Meek's wife was also treated for injuries when released and booked for murder charges. The entire story, according to the Times and E-Online, is fake. Wow.
It's so
Well, that's
hard
that.
now.
Well, there you go. That's
Yeah.
why it hasn't gone everywhere, and why we never saw it again. That totally makes sense. Well, whoever did that did a good job of it. Usually there, and if I look at it now, it'd probably jump out as the fake things. But usually certain
Signs
They're
that it's fake. Yeah.
there are definitely signs that as to why it's fake. The way they word it. But yeah, wow, that's interesting. That's crazy, but that explains why
Well, I guess he still
we
has,
didn't see it anymore.
Still has some modeling potential now.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll see him on the runway soon.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if that's fake too. The $30,000 modeling gig he landed. I don't know if that's real or fake now. So.
Sometimes I just get caught up in how Jay can say things like so seriously, but they're so I don't like. We'll see him on the runway soon. Like, in depth.
Oh man, God, people are tired of these fake. What are these fake stories for?
What do you get out of it? I don't even get what people get out of
I-
making a fake story.
Who knows? There's so many of them. It's hard to decipher anymore. Like,
It's like these assholes who do the viruses that aren't out to grab bank accounts and shit. You get why they do that.
Mhm.
Why are they just destroying shit? You know, it's like,
I've asked Timko forever.
God.
It's never made sense to
It's
me.
just
There's-
the factor.
yeah,
You know what
there's
I mean?
some pindick in his mom's
Yeah.
basement getting his rocks off, just fucking with people.
I just wrecked 500,000 computers,
Yeah.
guaranteed.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
It's like a
that's what
smart Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah.
It's infuriating. Anyway, back to this one, which I don't think is a fake story. Who knows anymore? But these officers, these corrections officers, are facing charges. They fell pregnant again to White while he was behind bars. Owens had Tavon tattooed on her neck. Nice.
Jesus.
Stevenson had Tavon tattooed on her wrist. The indictment seeks the forfeiture of $500,000 and other proceeds of the enterprise, including luxury automobiles. White allegedly gave gifts to 3 officers, Owens, Stevenson, and Brooks received a diamond ring as well as luxury cars. So is he proposing to one of them as well?
Why bother? Why would you even bother?
The Secretary of Public Safety and Correctional Services, Gary Maynard, said he's taking full responsibility, and it's an embarrassment.
Dude, what I get out of this is
Which
I need
it
to
is.
join a gang and then I need to go to jail.
Yeah.
And then I'll be in.
Then you'll
You have
be
a
finally
chance.
you'll get pussy.
Right.
Get you married, hooked
Right.
up.
It sounds like you can do it all in jail, so.
I wonder what these chicks look like.
Oh, I mean, they gotta be fun.
I mean, who knows? I thought they didn't have. Which was it? Did they not have male corrections officers around the females? Or are they just not allowed to pat them down and stuff?
I would think,
and
I would think they wouldn't allow it at all.
I wouldn't
it
think
would
you
be
would have
women,
females.
women, men, and men.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I thought that was. I mean, obviously, clearly not, unless this is a bogue story. But yeah, you would think that when you've got guys at that level who are brutal, in many cases, they're brutal. I mean, let's be real here. Some chick who's telling him to knock it off, or else,
Right.
what? You and the pepper spray can are gonna fucking take him down. Sorry, I'll take my chances on Tavon White to win that battle. I mean, just saying. But they're probably not allowed to be alone with them. But I thought that was for their safety, though, for women's safety.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want
Right.
them being grabbed and pulled into a room. It takes a whole different
Hell
level
yeah,
of
yeah.
security measure and problems that are presented with stuff like that. But
Sounds like
obviously
these
in
girls wanted
Baltimore.
it.
well, yeah, obviously. But what I want to know is if they had the kids.
Oh,
You know, because that was your problem, I think, Jay, was like, Jesus Christ. I mean, outside of all this, you're bringing
You're
more
creating
assholes.
human beings, you know? That's so lost in the whole thing. It's just like, oh, yeah, you're just knocking these chicks up. Yeah, you're creating a human life. I don't know. I'm sure you're way past having that thought at all.
Yeah.
You know, that you would bear any responsibility for that or care, you know, about
But
this
it's
human
true,
life that
though.
you created. But damn, dude, there's going to be these people
Yeah.
thinking about, you know, how their mom and dad came to be.
Yeah,
You
how'd
know,
you
how-
guys meet? Well, Tavon, you know, here's
Bent
his
me
name
over
on-
in the shower, you know. And
He's behind the
State
bars,
Pen.
but his dick was so big that even through the bars, he was able to get it in me. I just kind of bent over and stuck my ass and vagine through the bars as much as I could. and he would just pound me from behind like that.
Oh, your dad was something else.
That's so romantic.
Oh,
my
yeah.
goodness.
He was killed in prison a year later. But your brothers and sisters,
He was a pimp.
half brothers, I should say, and sisters.
Half brothers. Coming to Lifetime. That could be a made-for-TV movie. Lifetime.
Oh, God.
How
I mean,
gross.
the jealousy that would be involved there. Like, 4 of the guards are all knocked up by this one asshole. Like, think about couples that have so much trouble and spend tens of thousands of dollars to, like, get help
Yeah.
creating life. And these guys, you hear about them all the time. It's like, yeah, that's the 13th bitch I knocked
Yeah.
up. And it's just a joke. It's a mockery. And
Ugh.
you can't think for a second that these guys are spending romantic time together and
Yeah, right.
over months they ended up.
Right.
It's like this guy, it would be something like, get your pants down, bitch.
Exactly.
And then just
Oh,
pound,
yeah.
pound, pound, blow load, leave. And 9 months later, here's Tavon Jr.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, crazy.
Get your pants down, bitch.
Pull your pants down, bitch. Time for Tavon to get his. It's been 24 hours since I had a piece.
Get the Tavanosaurus something.
Oh.
We mentioned Kid Rock earlier, and
Interesting story about Kid Rock.
yeah,
Involving Kid Rock.
yeah, it's really kind of a loose Kid Rock involvement. It's really more ICP.
It's really a lawyer being an asshole, but
Is that what it
I'll let
is?
you explain, yes.
Well, attorneys for and SoundClaim Posse's former publicist have subpoenaed Kid Rock for a glass sex toy, this big dildo or something, that they plan to use as evidence in an ongoing sex harassment suit against the Insane Clown Posse. According to the subpoena, Rock was given the item a couple years ago by Dirty Dan Diamond, who was a former employee of ICP's and Psychopathic Records. During his deposition, Diamond's, he testified that he attempted to give Andrea Pellegrini the dildo, but she refused to accept it. He then gave the piece to Kid Rock. Kid Rock has 14 days to respond and produce the item. Pellegrini, she filed a lawsuit in September 2013 alleging wrongful termination, harassment, retaliation, and infliction of emotional distress during her 3-year employment with ICP's Psychopathic Records. This sounds like a classic case of hot girl in the office and a bunch of testosterone in the room making comments.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
God knows what else, things that you could insert Drew and Mike and all of our names in this thing, and we would be guilty of the same shit at certain times. We got better over the years, but boy, oh boy, there was a time we stopped hiring female interns. We stopped hiring female interns because we knew someone was going to get in trouble.
Well, I think I talked to you about that in the past. Like, how do you guys, function as a quote unquote office? I mean, the shit you do.
It's bad when you're talking about, in most companies, you have a guy who's out of control and you just eliminate that problem. But when you've got guys that are entertaining masses, hundreds of thousands of people,
and the theme is sexually.
It's a rowdy atmosphere. There's a real incentive to do everything you can to make sure you keep that unit together. So you can't just terminate people. You can't. It makes it a lot harder because you know that that's directly tied to money. I mean, money was brought in on the backs of the Drew and Mike show, on the backs of a lot of things. So yeah, you don't. Not that we did anything that would have been way over the line, but it doesn't take much to bring a case. It takes almost nothing to bring a case like this. So for us, it was like, why don't we eliminate that issue and just not hire females because...
So you violated the law in that regard.
Exactly.
By not hiring. Yeah.
That's...
Well, yeah, it looks like we're just trying to pump up the case, get it back in the news by subpoenaing this.
Yeah.
Right? Because we heard about this a while ago. It was filed like last year or something. I remember reading the complaint and stuff. It was interesting. But it's been going through the discovery process. After you file a case, you start calling depositions, asking for documents and shit. Clearly, this Dan Diamond testified, I don't have it anymore. And so these guys saw that opportunity. Let's bring a big name into the fray.
Right.
So Kid Rock will probably just respond, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have
threw
it.
that thing away. I don't even know who Dan Diamond is.
Yeah.
The complaint, which is 17-page complaint, claims she was subject to sexual advances and bullying by colleagues, and that she was given the toy by Diamond after he learned she was single. He admitted under oath that he made sexually explicit remarks to Pellegrini. The suit alleges Pellegrini was asked to perform legal work she considered unethical. That would scare me more than anything, that claim right there.
Well, they went through a huge lawsuit already when they claimed that them and their fans were a gang. Remember that?
Yeah,
it's a big federal lawsuit.
Pissed me off, and I think they lost their I don't know if it, appeal or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know what became of that.
There is a note about that in here. ICP recently lost a lawsuit against the federal government over a 2011 FBI report that put a tag on the group's fans known as Juggalos. Yeah, it was one of those things where their fans, I don't know how familiar you are with the Juggalos. They wear clown makeup, you know.
Yeah.
ICP does do too, and so it's not uncommon. I remember living in Royal Oak, and they'd be playing at the State Theater or something, or the what's the one in Royal Oak Music Theater, and literally like the morning before the show or the day before, they'd be lined up around the building, all these people with black and white face paint, Juggalos. So yeah, and so they kind of, the way they worded it was like, you've got this mass gathering, there's illegal activity at any concert where you've got tens of thousands of people or thousands of people, you're going to have illegal shit going on. It's just at any concert. I don't care who it is. Neil Diamond, you'll have illegal shit going on. But for them, they were able to go, oh yeah, it's like a gang, this group of people, and I think it had something to do with the fact that they had their own festival. They'd like have these weekend-long festivals with wrestling, and they'd perform. They'd have other bands and all kinds of things, and so they'd have these gatherings of these mass gatherings of people, and they were able to call them a gang, you know, gang-related activity, and so I would think that would only help your image.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like getting that tag, like that's awesome.
Yeah.
For a kind of badass
street cred. Yeah.
In fact, Eric, you want to see in those CDs over there? There should be a Stephen Lynch one that has a Insane Clown Posse or Juggalos song on it.
You keep saying Insane Clown Posse.
Insane Clown Posse. What am I saying?
Insane Clown Posse.
Really?
ICP. I think I heard it 3 times.
Seriously? Why didn't you say something the first time? Yeah, let it go. Insane Clown Posse. Insane Clown Posse.
Insane Clown Posse.
Yeah, she mentions her suit describes her experience at the 2012 gathering of the Juggalos as a living hell. Named as defendants are members Violent J and Shaggy 2 Dope, and their manager as well. So
the whole Kid Rock thing, it just, again, they're in Discovery. Discovery's so broad and open, like you can just ask for anything that's marginally relevant or could lead to relevant evidence. So this is just, in my estimation, probably their lawyer just trying to get this on the headlines again.
If you gave it to Kid Pebble, there would be no story here. This would not make the press. The fact that it's Kid Rock happened to be the name, why wouldn't they use that? Did you find it there, Eric?
I see 3 CDs here. Is it just called Insane Clown Posse, the song, or?
I think it's on his latest CD. If not, I can do it in post or something. It's around though.
But what bullshit though?
Or find it online.
You can just serve a subpoena, and the other person has to react to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not Kid Rock and you don't have lawyers at your disposal, you're Mike Walters.
Yeah.
You've got to have a lawyer handle this thing for you. You know, it's a court order, a subpoena. So all of a sudden you're just like, fuck, you know, what do I do? You got to pay somebody to help you.
Mm-hmm.
It's just bullshit, you know?
Yep. Yeah, it is. And it, I mean, for a guy like him, he's got him on retainer. He's got him, you know, all the time at his beck and call. So it shouldn't be any big deal. But for him, I would think you would, if you did have a glass dildo, something like that, you would go out back, drop it on the ground, smash it, throw it in the garbage, and be done with it. Go, I don't know what you're talking about. I haven't seen it since apparently he gave it to
produce
me.
It.
Why? Why even bother? Like, why bother? Seriously, like, why even bother?
If you go and smash it and throw it away, you're violating a court order.
Yeah.
It could be found in
Says
contempt.
Who? They'd have to prove that, which would be hard. It's not on those discs there, Eric.
No, I got it here.
Do you have it online?
Yeah.
All right.
I got it in a second.
You want to hear it? It's pretty good. Figure we could play it here. And then we'll dive into that story next.
The Insound Clean Posse.
The Insound Clean Posse. Do you have it there, buddy?
It should be playing.
Is it live?
Yeah, it's a live
Oh,
version.
Christ.
Let me get the video. Sorry. My
Yes, you're bad.
bad. I'm an
It's
idiot.
probably in my iTunes, but anyway, I'll do it in post, dude. Don't worry
Sorry,
about it.
man.
It's okay. We got a story here yesterday that really was frustrating, to say the least. And we're seeing these stories a lot. This is a woman in Tampa, a nurse, Sarah Hellwedge. She applies for a job at a local family planning clinic. She matter-of-factly informed her potential employers that she would not be prescribing any hormonal contraception when the clinic didn't hire her because prescribing birth control was part of her job. She responded by suing. Tampa Family Health Center has subjected her to religious discrimination after they learned that that if she was hired, she would not do her job. The center employee informed Sarah that there were no positions available that fit into her moral parameters. The AAPLOG, APLOG, is an organization of OBGYNs and nurses that don't believe in birth control. She continued to press about being hired to perform only some of the duties required of the other positions. So they've got a couple like emails back and forth. So they say, let's see, good morning. Due to the fact that we are a federal, is that Title 10?
Yeah.
Title 10? I've heard of Title 9, but I don't.
No, this is. Go on. I'll let you finish.
Okay.
Now.
Due to the fact that we're a Title 10 organization and you are a member of APLOG, we would be unable to move forward in the interview process. Unfortunately, we do not have any positions for, it's hard to read this, sorry, laborist only, antepartum and laborist only. Good luck in your future endeavors. So she responds to that with an email back to them. Dear Mr. Lindsay, to clarify, I am not merely seeking a position that encompasses antepartum and laborist care only. I was asking about that position only so I would know if it was available. I would still desire to apply for a position that includes postpartum and women preventative care as well as antepartum and laborist care within the religious and moral parameters I stated previously. With that clarification, is it still possible for me to move forward in your application process? Sincerely, Sarah.
Her lawyer wrote that probably. She just copied and pasted it in.
Right.
But yeah, the Title 10 thing, I think it's a federal program. And what she's saying is, look, this is a federal program set up to provide this contraception. So
Okay.
fundamentally, your beliefs don't jibe with that. They don't square. So we don't have a position for you. I think is basically what she's saying. And then the other lady's coming back, no, you have to understand, I'm not just asking about positions that would require disposal of contraception. I'm asking about ones that wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like I know you're looking at this going, this is a setup for a lawsuit. Could be.
Yeah.
Could very well be. But what you have to realize is that there are laws that protect people based on their religious beliefs, and employers can't discriminate against you based on religious beliefs.
Yeah, I guess my problem is outside of all the legal bullshit that goes on around it. My problem is these people that, like, well, then don't be a fucking nurse. I mean, part of being a nurse is someone you have to. That's part of it. That's what the world we live in.
If that's part of, if that's the area you're going to practice in,
Yeah.
and it requires that, then you're going to have a hard time being a nurse in that sort of facility. You can go be a rehab nurse or whatever. I mean, there's nurses that do all sorts of things.
The family plan. Like people planning to have a family, and that would entail, or that would be people that are having trouble having children, or people that are trying to prevent having children, whatever it is. It sounds like specifically you're going into an area and a part of the health system that would require.
Well, it sounds like Planned Parenthood, which
Yeah.
everybody knows gives out contraception.
Of course. And
so that's why this is probably a setup, or a very, very stupid person who doesn't understand what that job entails.
Well, I don't know that I think this has to do with that Hobby Lobby thing too recently.
That
in a
there's a
sense.
flavor of that to it, but this really goes more to individual rights. The Hobby Lobby thing went to the rights of employers, a privately held corporation.
Mm.
Do they have the right to hold religious beliefs and reject a law that requires them to violate those religious beliefs? And that's what Obamacare essentially did. And the Supreme Court said, Hobby Lobby, you've shown that you have these bona fide beliefs, and so to the extent Obamacare requires you to violate those, that part of the law doesn't apply to you.
Yeah.
So that I think it's on people's radar because of that. Maybe a few weeks ago that came out, but this case really has to do with religious civil rights and whether that employer needs to take her on and make some sort of accommodation for her. And we see that all the time with disability too. A person comes and it's like, well, I'm in a wheelchair. Well, dude, what we do is we give skydiving lessons, and that's cool. You could do like the classroom stuff, but we're not going to be able to throw you out an airplane tandem with a jumper. It's just you can't do the job.
Right.
And so in that instance, it would be you can't do the job, you can't do the essential functions of it. And it's sort of the same analysis here. If religious wise you can't perform the essential functions, the employer
We're not
would probably
interested.
and the employer would probably win a lawsuit that just said, look, and to make us take them on would be undue hardship.
Yeah.
We'd have to totally fuck the looks like these people just don't fit in this instance.
Yeah, but why would you try to? I don't understand why you wouldn't. Like, why would you even want to go down that road if you know that you're going to be like that? And no one's asking you to take rubbers and birth control. Like, that's where it fits into your religious beliefs, in my opinion. Well, like, you've got a job to do, and part of that job is prescribing stuff to people that need it. I mean, you're a nurse. That's your job. If you can't handle that task, but we're seeing this all the time, and I know it's, the laws are what they are, but it just personally bothers me that anybody at any point would, like, who the fuck are you? No one's asking you to take it. You don't have to take it. But
yeah, but if your religious beliefs say, look, I don't believe anybody should have this, and that's my religious belief. I mean, you got to look broadly at what their belief is.
Yeah, but they're cherry picking bullshit out of the Bible. It's such a joke. If you're going to take literally everything in the Bible, that's what they're doing, though. You know what I mean? Like, that's all of them.
Hold on. If you're referring to people who are pro-life as cherry picking and saying, thou shalt not kill, that they're looking at this as a killing situation and that's wrong. I mean, is that what you're saying?
No. I'm saying all of it. Like, if you're I think that people try to take their religion way too seriously on certain things, but then they just kind of look past the other stuff, and like, nobody's bitching that much about premarital sex, but that's a sin in the Bible. It's as bad as anything else in the Bible.
You don't hear people bitching about that?
Barely. I mean, there are just things that, you know what I mean, though? I mean, I don't expect to win an argument with you about this. I just think that if you're going to be in that field, then be in the field. Go all in, but don't expect that people are going to bend and make change their rules and ways of doing things to fit your stupid beliefs. And then if they have a problem with that, file a lawsuit immediately. File a lawsuit. I've been wronged. I've been fucked over. It's just silly to me.
The law's in place, so if you want to change it, Mike, you personally,
I do.
You could run for Congress. We could change your name to Scotty Bowman. You'd win easily.
Steve Eiserman. Come on.
But yeah, the fact is, the law is there, dude, and it's take this out of the religious context and make this woman an Asian woman. And make
she's got to go.
And make this email.
Asians.
Make the email say, you know what, you're Asian. We can't take you on.
Yes,
it is, fucker. Yes, it fucking is. Let's go, Eric. Title VII precludes. Title VII says you can't discriminate against someone based on their religion, race, age, gender, etc.
But you can't change one. You can't change being an Asian. She doesn't have to be
Dude, so you're suggesting someone has to change their religion?
She should change a religion. She's got a stupid religion.
Then don't go to a job that you need to freaking do that for.
Don't go to a job that you can't that you have to be white for. I mean, it's the same thing. Yes, it is. It is the same thing, dude, because the law says you can't discriminate on those bases.
We're trying to fight with an attorney about this. You're not gonna. It's neither here nor there. I think we're talking about different things though, because I seriously, I do, because I don't care about what the law says. I'm talking more in the general.
Yeah, but you have to, if you're going to talk about this issue, you have to recognize that there's a law that protects it.
See,
I'm not saying I agree with it or disagree with it. I'm just saying, dude, there's the law, and that's why the issue is what it is.
Yeah.
That's not what it is.
Hold on, and so to say, well, you know, fuck that, they should just have to do this. Well, they don't, because the law says they don't.
But they don't have to have
and Congress said that back in 1964, whenever they passed the fucker. It's been around forever.
Well, why don't we hear about it more often then?
Dude, I practiced employment law for 15 years. I heard about it they're out there. These cases are out there, and it's running rampant. Believe me.
And so, well, maybe that's the problem. That they're out there running rampant. Are they bullshit cases, or
there
do you think
are a ton of bullshit cases?
So what is the play then? To make money off this? Are these people? Because I gotta think that if you're applying for a job like this, know they're not gonna fucking hire you.
It could be. It looks like this could be a setup with the emails going back and forth. It very well could be. It could be her attorney saying, you know what, let's test this. Let's see how they reply to this, because they apparently don't know that they have an obligation to you. So let's throw this back at them and see what their reply is.
Well, I was surprised that there was a reply saying, hey, based on the things that you aren't willing to do, we can't proceed with the interview. I was shocked.
It won't be the first time an email sinks a company. Holy shit, it happens every day.
But when someone sends you a response saying, I can't do these duties, I would think that would immediately be a trigger, and a fucking light would be blinking going, dude, tread carefully, my friend.
You'd be amazed, especially with smaller companies where they just don't see it coming and they get blasted by email correspondence. All of these, so many of these cases, I won't say all, but 90% of these cases now, any lawsuit, man, other than criminal law, they all involve email heavily. I mean, nobody
makes sense.
Like Eric, he doesn't pick up the phone to call our banner friend. He fucking emails him. You know, everybody all day long, email, just making records of everything.
Yeah, nobody.
And
wants
it's
to
always
talk to
there. Timco knows you can never delete it.
Yeah.
So
true.
This would not be the first time a fucking idiot put shit in writing. It happens all the time.
And it sounds like there's probably a lot of people that have the argument like me who aren't familiar with the law. I don't practice law. I don't pretend to. I bitch about shit.
Yeah, you respond like, no, you can't work here because of this.
It makes it like, why would you even try to? But I'm not dumb enough. I would never send an email like that to someone.
Up, right?
Oh, fuck, in an instant. And I would immediately go to someone who would understand and go, how do I respond to this? Because this cunt wants a fucking job, but she doesn't want to do half the shit we need her to do.
That's why
So how do I respond?
That's why corporate lawyers around the country training people and putting on seminars, and people label them fun governors and assholes. But that's why they do it, so that a flag does go up when you see that.
Yeah.
And at least an inquiry is made, and it might be nothing, or it might it might save the company a ton of money.
Well, maybe that's the problem too. Is just thinking, how could somebody who deals with hiring, is in charge of hiring practices for a family care center, family planning center, how could that person not be aware of potential that would be something that you would have to tread very carefully with if someone sends you an email?
She might have ran it by a lawyer, and that might be the right answer. I don't know. It depends on what that
well, the way you explained it a minute ago was perfect.
If it undue hardship to the company to take her on
Absolutely.
and accommodate, maybe they're right.
Yeah.
So we were a minute ago assuming that answer was wrong. Maybe it's right.
Well, it very well could be. And the way you explained it when you said just what you did about undue responsibilities, now you've got to have two people handle this job because dipshit can't fucking prescribe something because of religious beliefs, and that's the other problem. We're seeing that pop up all the time. Religious beliefs, and what's to prevent people from claiming anything in a religious belief? Why don't we establish a religion right here and make some whacked out shit?
There's a lot of case law that says, is it really a strongly held religious belief? Because that's what it has to be. But what the fuck does that mean, right?
Yeah.
It's a
say.
It's a moving target. So there's all kinds of cases out there. And again, we've talked about this before, that lawyers, they argue cases. Hey, this case is just like that one. So when you go to argue this thing, you go and you find, you search that phrase and you find a case just like yours to say, hey, judge, this is what this judge said, and you ought to do the same thing.
I wonder how hard that is to establish. Really, no, this is to be taken seriously. We haven't been around for 10,000 years, but
yeah, no, there's crazy shit, Rastafarianism and shit like that. There's even atheists can say, the absence of religion, the absence of my religion ought to be accommodated.
Yeah,
There's cases like that out there,
which makes sense.
But it's all a moving target, and it's left open for the individual really to define. So if they have a smart lawyer, they're going to put together an affidavit that says, this is what I believe, and I believe it strongly, and it's strongly held, and it's blah blah blah, throwing in all the buzzwords.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's a mess, man.
Well, we should definitely get a religion going here.
Well, I think we do. I think we're under your spell already, fucking cult leader.
No, dude, I've never seen. Did you ever see his face when he was yelling at me?
Yeah,
totally.
Oh, I've gotten into it with him before.
What? Me and Walter. Me and Walter's on the same onset with this. Like, I always get in fights with my dad about what you did with him. And not that you're like when he's trying to just come back with you and say, well, this is the law. You and me tend to be on that side where we say, I know I'm not stupid, but that's dumb. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like things like, yes, I know it's the law, but I have a problem with that.
The problem is, and I knew this bringing someone like Jay into the mix. The thought process that I had going was, okay, if you do that, this is what we're dealing with. Because what I do, I'm just a big mouth. My job requires me just to be a big mouth. I go and I talk about whatever, and you try to make some people laugh and bring up interesting topics and have fun. Jay, everything about him is a professional corporate lawyer.
There's right answers to certain shit, okay?
Yeah, okay. Right.
Okay. So nothing's ever changed. Nothing's ever changed because it was stupid. There's never been a law that got.
Don't you notice when we have conversations and Jay pauses for a minute before he responds? Whereas if you say so, I just go, that's fucking bullshit. Like fly off the handle, and he pauses and reflects for a minute and thinks about, like, he's thinking about what is my position about this, because he's thinking about shit I should probably be thinking about, which is this doesn't end here in this room with this microphone. This is going out to people.
Fucking digitally recorded forevermore.
Forever and ever. Stand on what you just said in an instant without thinking about it. Yeah, it's very difficult. It's the thing that radio people have to deal with every day. It's an argument that they've tried to stand on. Like, look, when you're doing essentially improv and off the cuff straight talk for hours on end,
you're bound to say something stupid.
You're going to say something stupid. I'm wrong 15 times a show, minimum. Dead wrong on shit.
Oh yeah, I'll be driving home all the time and be like, fuck, did I say that?
Yeah. I know I am. There's no doubt about it. It's just it comes with the territory. But it's interesting having someone like Jay here who, it's funny. I know I don't even want to get into the fights because I know I'm not going to win. Yeah. I know I can't.
I think I'm still in that stubborn. Like, I'm telling you, like, what you just did with him is I have that with my dad because my dad gets on me. I tend to be, I'm not naive, but I do, as much as I seem cynical, I tend to think things more on the bright side when it comes to sports. I'll get up in sports, and my dad will always be like, it's money, or like he is with law. And I'm always be like, I know it's about money, but
Eric, if there's a logical answer that wins over an emotional one, bottom line.
That's not the point, though.
Yes, it is.
That's the whole point, unfortunately.
I know. Well,
so we can say, oh, that's stupid, that sucks, oh, that's the way I feel. Okay, but I'll tell you the answer if you want.
I don't have to accept that answer. I don't have to accept.
And it's why you're smart to get a lawyer and not Charles Pugh yourself to death and go, I got this.
Right.
I know everything. It's easy to think this bullshit. Like, those things need to be changed, goddammit. Can I hire a lawyer to change this, stop this insanity where some asshole moves into a condo and then cries, I'm not leaving. And they all say the same thing, I have rights. And then we have to go months, not 1, 2, 3 to 6 months minimum, trying to get some piece of shit out of your house on bogue reasons. But there are protections.
Do we have another squatter?
We do. And you could immediately jump up and go, it's the law. There are laws to protect and blah, blah, blah. I know that, but it's bullshit. It still doesn't make it any less bullshit, which is what we've got here. And I don't know what this company is. I've never heard of it.
I never had either, but apparently it's pretty big.
Yeah, Airbnb, or is it Airbnb?
Yes.
Airbnb. I'm assuming it's Airbnb, but they, I guess it's just an online site that people looking to rent houses for month-to-month thing. If you've got corporate guys coming in and they're going to stay for more than a couple days and don't want to stay at a Holiday Inn, they want to kind of have a home type living, so they specialize in that. So people, you had a woman here renting a 600 square foot Palm Springs condo, and anybody that's been to Palm Springs knows how absolutely expensive and outrageous that shit can be. So you got to do what you can do, and so a lot of these people will rent those places out for certain months of the year and make enough money to actually cover their mortgage or rent for the rest of it. So it sounds like she's doing something like that. So your place for the month, but I need more than a month, and kind of a long-term tenant. This guy says he wants to move in for like 44 days or something. His name is Maxim. Contacted her through Airbnb, asking to rent this condo for longer than a month. Told her he needed accommodations for an extended business trip. Initial interactions with her seemed okay, and she agreed to let him rent the condo from May 25th through July 8th, which is a total of, like I said, of 44 days. She received advance payment for 30 days, but on day 1, he checks in, calls her, and complains about 2 odd things. He didn't like the tap water, which he thought was cloudy, and he didn't like the gated entry to the condo complex. He asked for a full refund. He
wanted less security.
Yeah, I don't know what that means. Like, what you're just learning. Well, I guess he could have been out of state calling about this place and didn't know it had a gated entrance. Because I'm like, what? They didn't install this yesterday after you signed the deal. But yeah, if that was going to be such a big deal, you'd think you'd look into that before you move in and see what the amenities of the complex are and what they have, what they don't have. And I would think if it's a gated community, that's something most people would like to keep riffraff out. So they would probably brag about that quite early on in the listing. But anyways, he wants a full refund. She had a bad feeling about him, so she agrees to a refund. She had difficulty getting a hold of Airbnb right away to make the refund happen. They responded a couple days later in an email and told her it asked the guest to leave. The company also told her since Maxim had stayed in the condo for 2 days, she was entitled to keep some 2 days worth of rent. So, but Maxim stayed in the condo. It became confusing. Both I and Airbnb told the guest to leave, but he would not. After a number of antagonistic texts with the guest, she decided that perhaps the best course of action would be just to let him stay for the duration of his reservation. That seems like an odd move to me, but okay. Then came the second hiccup here. June 25th, when payment for the last part of his reservation was due, Airbnb couldn't collect the money. So both Airbnb and Shogel contacted him and warned him to pay or leave. 2 days later, he's still in the condo. On the last day of his reservation, still unpaid, she sent him a text telling him she needed him to vacate the property or she would have the utilities shut off. He responded with a threat of his own. It almost sounded like blackmail. He threatened to sue, saying his brother was there and got an ulcer due to the tap water.
What a piece of
pussy, shit. Yeah. He said he was legally occupying my docile and he has rights. I have rights. It turns out, of course, he was right. He does have rights. And she was advised by other landlords to lawyer up. Nice. She hired a lawyer and discovered that in California, once someone rents a property for 30 days, that person is considered a tenant on a month-to-month lease. To get the tenant out would require the whole eviction process, which could take 3 to 6 months and about $3 to $5 grand in legal fees. She couldn't, in other words, she couldn't just ask the police to come haul this dickhead out. And she's still on her own to get the guy out in the end.
That sucks. You know, you'd buy this extra property, you think it's going to render some, you know, good income, you invest in it, and you get a load like that.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Maxim.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't read those. Did you look at those?
Yeah, it's basically just him.
The letter or whatever.
Yeah, it's text message with her saying, you know, I'm gonna shut off. I want you out tomorrow by noon. I'm gonna shut off the power. You know, I hope you peacefully leave today, and I don't need the authorities to get involved. And she says, "Hi, Corey. He says, this is Maxim. I've consulted my attorney. As I said multiple times already, I am legally occupied the domicile. My nature of work from home is dependent on having electricity, and my income while working averages $1,000 to $7,000 per day. I know, involving over 2,000 customers in U.S. alone. If the electricity gets cut off, I will be losing money every day, blah, blah, blah." And he goes on to, you know, your threat to me, blah, blah.
Just so if you're making $1,000 to $7,000 a day,
shit.
why don't you just pay the rent, asshole?
What, like, the hell out of there.
Yeah, there's an easy way to not have the electricity shut off. Pay the fucking rent.
Just shameless.
Yeah.
You know, just shameless. You've got the funds to go hire a lawyer for this. Get out of there.
Yeah, yeah. So what happens at the end of 3 to 6 months? Do you owe back rent for all that time?
I don't know.
I mean, if a judgment is in her favor, which of course it would be.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, when these squatters, in the end, after this lengthy bullshit process, this circus comes to an end, you're going to have to leave. You can't just stay there rent-free.
You're going to have to leave, and you're going to have a judgment. What's the judgment worth, you know? Because he's a piece of shit. He's just traveling around squatting everywhere.
Yeah, I wonder if he's got a history of anything like that.
Right.
What do they call those? The litigious? Is that what it is?
Oh, the vexatious whatever list in California.
Yeah.
We came across that. She was the other squatter was on that, right?
Yeah, for
the
sure.
Vexatious litigation.
The nanny.
Yeah.
She was on that list for sure. And
the nanny was worse though because she was in the house with the residents.
That was so bad.
She'd come out and get food and stuff.
Putting dog food in front of the door. Whatever happened with that? Did she end up leaving? Remember she wanted them to leave?
Yeah, she had
premises.
Conditions. She wanted the media out of there, you know.
Just think about that, dude. You and Gab and the kids are in the house and you've hired this nanny to live, and she's going to then put together her conditions for leaving, which requires you, Gab, and the kids to exit the premises for a couple days for her to gather her things. You'd be enraged.
Yeah.
I mean, putting 3 cans of dog food as a smartass in front of her door would be the least of her concerns.
It's incredible to think that people could get rights like that coming into your own home. You know?
I wonder why they were put in place. Like, what were they trying to prevent? What were the...
Well, this thing, the 30, the ability to extend your lease by 30 days, I think they're trying to just allow people to, you know, keep a residence until they can get on their feet and find another home and not kick people out on the street.
Right.
So if your lease ends and it's like, shit, you know, I still haven't been able to find, your landlord can't just dump you. You get you can go 30 more days, go 30, 30, 30, and keep going until you're on your feet. I think that was the interest behind it, but it's just being manipulated.
Which is fair. And of course, like anything else, it gets taken advantage of and used in completely the wrong way. But how long would you have to do that? 30 days, 30 days? Is it just a one-time 30 days?
No.
Or is that something you can extend?
No, you can keep going.
So what's the point? I mean, if you don't...
Well, the landlord keeps getting paid, so the other side of it as well, you're still getting paid for it. It's not like he's staying there for free.
Well, the problem is, though, it still applies if they stop paying you. They still have rights, which if some guy...
Well, you've got to go through the eviction process to get them out.
3 to 6 months. Good luck. And then good luck collecting. Even if you get a judgment, which you will, good luck collecting. The problem was they couldn't pay their rent. So now you're telling me they're going to pay their lawyer, the court costs, and the judgment? No, they're just going to leave when they're asked to, and if it comes down to it, the sheriff will come in and remove their shit.
Yeah.
But they've just milked you for 3 to 6 months of free rent, basically.
Yeah. And he probably took a shit in the bottom drawer of the refrigerator, which you'll find, 2 months
down
after.
the road. Yeah, when it stinks.
Yeah.
I can't find anything very recent, but I did see a thing that said as of July 8th, she had not left the house yet. But I know we're in July.
Wow. Wasn't it the 4th of July weekend, I thought, was the target to...
Yeah, I can't believe there's not more. I'm trying to find an article that's newer than that. But
that would be so infuriating. I had some renters that were not. I had some renters. A guy was an engineer and extremely meticulous for the Berkeley house I had, and it was one of those where every month on the 1st,
it's awesome.
Check arrived, typed out. If there was anything that needed to be paid for, like if there are certain things that fall on the landlord to cover, if there's something that needs an upgrade,
roof leak or something.
Yeah, that needs to be fixed. Like he would have documentation of exactly what it was. I got these 4 estimates. And went with this one. The total was $59.63, which I've taken out of this month's rent. Here's the receipt for work done. Blah blah blah. I mean, it was like that. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And
that's how it should be, right?
Yeah. I mean, exactly.
Responsible person.
And then they moved out, and it was like, oh, wonderful, great, because I'll probably get another person just like that. Just like a guy, his wife, a young kid, perfect. And then I get someone where, like, right out of the gate, month 1, what do you know, late on rent, excuse after excuse after excuse. Oh, I sent it. What? Oh, lost in the mail. Oh, it's this, that. I mean, just everything you can imagine. It was just a nightmare.
I love the lost in the mail. It's like nothing gets lost in the mail. That is such bullshit.
Rarely. So, yeah, it can be troubling because it comes down to it when if they stop, which happened to me, where it was like we're 2 months behind and now they're making plans to back, and it's like, just get the fuck out. How about we just do that? You just go and I'll find someone else and to move in. And no, they're not going to do that. And I was told quite, there's not much you can do. So play ball and
just try to get through it. Yeah.
Try to get through it. Yeah. Nightmare. Did you see this story? We talked about it in the open just for a second about the bridge, the Brooklyn Bridge, and those 2 white flags that popped up.
2 American flags that are there, and they're replaced by white flags?
Yeah, well, you've got 2 American flags on the Brooklyn Bridge, which has been there, like we said, since like 18. Freestanding bridges or whatever in the country. And yeah, these 2 giant American flags. So you've got the bridge, they come to the point with the beam on either side. So the next morning, and all of a sudden, these giant American flags, same size, white flags. Well, those white flags were bleached out. You could see it. If you look closely, you could see that, wow, that looks like it's got the American. At one time, this was an American flag,
okay.
Which it was. It was an American flag, just bleached out white, and so they're up on either side. But you're talking about 287 feet up, and these beams, the metal beams or whatever to get up there. Like, how would you get up there? You'd figure there's surveillance cameras everywhere. It's guarded and under surveillance 24 hours a day. There's cameras all over it. But they've gone and looked at some of that surveillance video and seen some figures, like 4 or 5 individuals, like go up this beam, up on the top, and then there's 2 spotlights. These, those big giant like bat signal spotlights that are blasting up on these flags, and they're all of a sudden the lights go out, boom, and then these flags are there. So they had these big, like, tinfoil type thing that they'd rigged up and placed over the light, which killed the lights. And then they obviously went up and replaced the flag. And so when
a lot of effort.
Oh my God!
What is this? Political statement? Some sort of performance art?
That's the question.
It's a lot of effort, man. Dangerous.
2 of them.
Yeah.
So it's not like effort to do 1. They had to do 2 of them, and it was like 3 in the morning or something, 3:30 in the morning. And but it's really pissed off a lot of people and embarrassed a lot of people.
It's got to be political, right? Because it's an actual American flag bleached out. It's got to be some.
I don't know.
There.
Well, I could totally see if it was, like you said, art too. If it was some sort of statement, artistic statement. I don't know, but authorities are absolutely humiliated. That's something that they should be. You shouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah.
Get up there and
takes quite an effort. Takes a lot of time. Someone
And
should
they
have
have
stopped
people
them.
watching the bridge. It's not like, so obviously someone must have been falling asleep or not looking at the...
Yeah, it's got to be a huge terrorist target.
Oh yeah, it is. It's
because it's so iconic and
yeah, and it
is important.
bridges Brooklyn and Manhattan. I mean, yeah, it is. It's a major terrorist target. But they say whoever pulled off the breach was able to scale 276 feet, somehow making it past the locked gates that sit atop the bridge. The bridge's steel cables. I guess they're like 16 inches wide. These steel cables are huge. They do have the borough president of Brooklyn is offering $5,000 for info leading to an arrest. They mentioned that the bridge, one of the country's oldest suspension bridges, that's what I was trying to say, completed in 1883, and over the East River. So yeah, I don't know what you, if you'll ever find that out. You would think.
Yeah, if it's political, they would have had a statement with it, right? I mean, somebody would have claimed it somehow, saying this is what this means. So it's got to be some fucking just art stunt.
Well, I mean, a white flag symbolizes a truce or surrender.
Yeah, surrender.
Yeah, like so you would, if it was the skull and crossbones or the black ISIS flag, you would think someone's, making a serious statement. A white flag would symbolize surrender, like game over, you win, whatever. So I don't know what the point would be, but
idiots.
Yeah. Well, we've just got a couple minutes left. How are we doing on time, Jay? For
5 minutes.
5 minutes or so. Okay. Do you think it'd be cool to have LeBron James as a neighbor, or would you think that would be too much of a headache?
The last couple of weeks would have sucked, but it might be cool. Yeah.
I think it'd be cool. But yeah, and I'm talking about in Cleveland, and I guess he never left that house. He's had that house this whole time.
Wow.
He bought it in 2003. Usually these celebrities, man, they just don't stay in houses that long. It's kind of impressive for a guy with his means to keep that house.
He has a couple young kids, right?
Yeah.
Did they stay in Cleveland in school and all that while he went to Miami? Or?
I don't know, but they kept pretty regular residents in that Cleveland home, whether the wife was there or the kids, whatever. And it sounds like he would come home quite a bit when Miami wasn't playing, and that's where they've moved in here now. But as you mentioned, it's a circus the last couple of weeks ever since he announced he's coming back to Cleveland. Kind of been a traffic jam over there. I guess it's in Bath Township, Ohio, and neighbors are dealing with traffic, media crews, tourists, increased police presence ever since the day he announced it. It's been pretty crazy. A neighbor, Will Smith, no relation to Will and Jada, I'm assuming. There have been cars parked on both sides of the streets for a block or two. On Friday, police showed up to mitigate. It's a bit calmer now, but there's still a pretty steady flow of sightseers taking pictures and stopping and looking. I don't know what they're waiting for, he said. They just want a glimpse of glory, I suppose. And LeBron sent this thing. It just says, "Dear friend, we know things have been hectic in the neighborhood these past few weeks. We are so thankful to have great neighbors," and blah blah blah. Anyways, I guess LeBron does this for charity, like he's got his own cupcakes or something. Yeah. Let's see what it was.
Cupcakes are big now, Mike.
They are. They're everything. I could go for one now.
Really? I'm not a fan of cupcakes.
Let's see here. But he gave them each like a dozen cupcakes.
For their trouble?
Yeah, just for having to deal with this stuff.
Home baked, I'm sure, right?
Mm-hmm. No. Well, no, they're clearly not home baked, but they're those ones.
Handwritten note?
No.
That kind of pisses me off.
You're kind of shitting all over his gesture, man.
I was gonna say that kind of pisses me off because I like hating LeBron.
You like hating him?
And this kind of a cool thing.
You know?
What?
It was his wife.
Everyone in our neighborhood cupcakes for the Decision 2.0 traffic. I don't know.
Eric would rather have money than
couldn't you throw $100 bill instead of some cupcakes?
I know.
Dude, if you're living next to LeBron, I don't think you need a $100 bill.
Exactly. We are sorry for the chaos. It says, our family wants to give you something that is very meaningful to us, our foundation's cupcakes.
Mm-hmm.
They've got Just a Kid from Akron Cherry Cola Cupcake. Just a Kid from Akron Cherry Cola Cupcake. And Home Court Chocolate something cupcakes. But yeah, I suppose it's a nice gesture.
That's a good thought, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he could have just been a dick like the Beebs or something, you know. I bet the Beebs' neighbors hate his ass. Well, neighbors for sure do. He was egging them, right?
Egged them, yeah.
Well, not that you want to get too much into it, but he's going through a huge thing right now because he moved into an apartment, and he's already, like, in the last month had several noise complaints. In the last week, like 6 in one night. He's throwing major parties in this apartment complex.
Why would he move into an apartment?
So stupid. So dumb. I don't know.
That's the worst place to throw a party.
I know. He's like, he's leasing it. Someone country, and he's just
squatting.
And it's a real like high-end place too, and he's just been throwing ragers all night, and they can't do anything about it.
Where is he? Like,
I don't remember exactly.
Wow,
he needs to be deported.
It's a very high-end. Yeah, it's a very high-end place, though. You know what I mean? And with the clientele, those kind of people,
I mean,
they don't
just
give a fuck that it's Justin Bieber. They just want to fuck. You're paying $1 million a month. You don't fucking.
So it's an apartment. It's got to be a condo.
It's like it's a condo, but it's in a
building.
There's
apartments in like New York that people own that are freaking, multi-million.
The apartment you own is a condo.
Well, maybe it's like, but
they call them apartments though.
Yeah,
he's not owning it though.
Penthouse apartment and shit.
Yeah, and he has two of them. He has the roof one, and he has two in the building. Anyway, the point is he's been getting. So your statement is right. That house thing he's beyond that now. I mean, he's getting absolutely pissing these people off out there.
Yeah, well, he's done that for years at his California home. Little shithead.
Yeah, I heard an apartment. Why not just move to a house in the fucking,
you could rent that too. I heard Louis C.K. doing. I can't remember what I heard him on, but he was talking about his experience on Saturday Night Live because he hosted it, earlier this season, and one of the things he was talking about was in those meetings, you get to. You're dealing with all the cast members and stuff for 2 weeks or a week and a half, and you get to hear like what people did, who was an asshole, and he said like you get to hear like what a fucking total little spoiled cocksucker Justin Bieber was, and like really is like, oh yeah, I guess he was a nightmare, just a total prick.
It's not a shock, but still when you hear it, I guess it still gets me to just think, what a fucking fuck you, Justin Bieber.
Yeah, he exudes that, but you're like, can it really be that bad?
Yeah, and why?
I know.
Why? You're dealing with people that are, you would think, total professionals in that field, entertainment field. Like, what could you be a prick about? Seriously, it's just crazy. Yeah. Anyway, let's hang on to some of these because there were some good things, but we should call it a day. For this edition of the Detroit Cast, a Thursday edition. Thank you all for listening and hanging with us. Make sure you spread the word. And did you want to mention about sharing it? I think we got some.
Yeah, we got great response. Yesterday we asked for those who don't mind doing it, sharing our link on Facebook in our post that comes out tomorrow. If you don't mind sharing it. We had several people do that. That's hugely helpful because obviously it goes to friends of friends and introduces hopefully new people who don't know who we are. And
so that would affect then for people that have are friends of ours. That when they send.
Correct.
So it's got the ability to reach tons of new people.
Many of those people have, they might have 200 friends and most people might not know about the Detroitcast. They see a post, they start to see the Johns posted 3 times. Detroitcast, they might check that out.
Yeah, and one guy was nice enough. You guys ought to check it out. It's sort of fallen off. It's a great podcast, And,
cool. That's great.
He was willing to put something like that out. That's cool, and we appreciate it.
Just a bump up in likes and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's having an immediate impact. We're seeing a little bit. So continue, and if you haven't registered, please do. Just pop on our site on the homepage there. There's a registration. Just click on it and fill out what you can. That'll help us along too. So with that, have a good day, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow for a Friday, an all new Friday edition of the Detroit Cast.
been listening to the Detroit Cast with your hosts, Mike and Jay. From all of us at Radio for One Studios, thank you for listening. And as always, thank you, Detroit.
Listen to God, watch you grow. You know not worry.